Hola, hola, ¿cómo están? Bienvenidos de nuevo a esta emisión de Sin Sentido. El día de hoy es un episodio muy especial porque de hecho vamos a estar hablando en inglés, así que...
So yeah, welcome back to Sin Sentido, or Without Sense.
Yeah, sorry for that joke, but we had to do it. So, today's episode is going to be in English because we have a very special guest. She's Despina, and she's a member from Team Igem Patras.
And we will also upload this episode to our YouTube channel with Spanish subtitles, so there's no excuse to skip in this episode.
Exactly. So, in one of our last episodes, we talked a little bit about Team Igem Patras and about their podcast. Their podcast is called Podcast with Igem Patras 2022. Today, Despina is going to tell us more about what they are doing in their project and their experience in the Igem competition.
Yeah. So the first question we had for Team Patras was, is this the first time you're entering the Igem competition? So let's see what Despina had to say.
Hello, I'm Despina from the social media team of Igem Patras. No, our team has had some previous experience. More specifically, we initially took part in the Igem competition in 2020, so this is our third year of participate. Usually, however, our team members change every year. We hope that every year we can exceed our fellow former team since it is the only way of truly develop.
Okay, so as Despina was telling us, it's their third year participating in the competition, so I think that's very, very cool. And like she was saying, having new members each year might get a little bit overwhelming at least in our case, it has been a little bit overwhelming, but it is also great because you get new perspectives and ideas entering with other members. So that's a very, very cool part of it. So now we're gonna move on to our next question. Why and how did Team Igem Patras decide the project that they're working on? So let's play the record.
This year's project is a continue of the portable lab of the two previous teams of Igem Patras. This year we decided to integrate the agricultural sector in our project. The reason why we chose to deal with agriculture is that the agricultural sector is very important in Greece and it has many prospects. The mild Mediterranean climate, the arable land and the biodiversity are factors which favor the prosperity of agriculture in Greece. So, this sector needs to be modernized with innovative practices.
Well, it's very cool that they are continuing with the work of the previous Igem teams, since one Igem cycle might be too short to develop a whole rounded project. We had that experience too. Fortunately, we had Igem Design League last year with our project, so we have a little bit of advance to our cycle of the Igem competition this year.
Yeah.
And yeah, agriculture is an important sector in a lot of countries. So in Greece and Mexico, it's a great subject to develop.
Yeah, especially in Igem since you can treat like
Anything.
a lot of pests and water scarcity, for example, in our case, etc.
So now let's talk about a little bit more about the importance that Igem Patras has in their community and for the world. Let's take a look.
Our project aims to achieve SDGs goals, both humanitarian and environmental, the most important of which are better food quality, increasing the yield of crops to reduce world hunger, improving consumer health, protecting biodiversity, saving natural resources, and protecting the aquifer.
Okay, so like they were saying, agriculture is definitely a key factor in reaching the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. And like they said, by optimizing it, we can reduce its toll on the planet and we can also make food production not only more effective, but also more friendly for the environment.
And we had to ask also what they have done until now, their progress. So let's see what they shared with us.
We created the guide titled Vis Aptilis, From Agriculture to the Lab. for B. subtilis application in agriculture and 16S rRNA sequencing after being inspired by similar manners from past teams. Besides that, in collaboration with teams ABOA and TechChem, we wrote the Farmer's Handbook of Synthetic Biology about synthetic biology in agricultural practices, plant diseases, and sustainable agriculture, which we hope that it's helpful for any teams that wish to work on agriculture-related projects. We also organized the Aegean meeting for all Greek Igem teams, where we worked together on collabs, and we hope that this turns to a tradition. In addition, we wrote a comic about synthetic biology for students in order to be understood at young ages. Finally, we wrote a suggestion on project management and how to organize work structure as a conclusion from this year's experience.
Very great. Okay, so I think it's very interesting to see other teams that are also working with Bacillus subtilis in agriculture. And I think this commonality comes from the fact that Bacillus subtilis is already in the soil. So the fact that they're making a guide for other teams to use, I think that's a very, very good idea.
And also comics are a very cool way to communicate since it's very visual. So everyone can understand and you can read theirs, and even if you don't speak their language, you can understand what they're talking about.
Yes, because you have a lot of pictures and etc. So if you're interested in their comic, don't forget to check their wiki page. Now, we're going to continue with the next question that we asked Team Igem Patras, which is, what else is the team planning to do for Igem?
Our ultimate goal is the creation of an agriculture advisory tool that will propose appropriate and personalized interventions to each farmer to optimize his cultivation without any environmental burden. We hope that this becomes possible in the real world. In addition, we would like to extend our research to other crops, not just tomatoes. Finally, we would like to provide farmers with a database that will be used as a tool for the use of microorganisms in agriculture.
Okay, so they're developing an agricultural advisor tool to personalize and optimize their crops that can be applied in all the world. That's great. That's a part of synthetic biology, and it makes upscaling projects like this one easier since all parts are standardized.
Yes, that's a very good part of synthetic biology. So, okay, so now we're going to talk about what has been the most difficult part of being in the Igem competition up until now. Let's see what they have to say.
Well, you see, we're a fairly large team, which consists of 26 members. Sometimes it's rather challenging to communicate with everyone on time and work on the exact same schedule. However, we have managed to overcome this challenge with time. We have tried using different platforms that facilitate communication and workflow and are easily accessible. It also really helps the fact that all of our members are very focused, determined, and enjoy our project and working with each other.
Well, 26 people is definitely a lot. We're less than half the number of students here in ITESO, and we're still in trouble with all the organization part, and we can imagine organizing more than 20 people.
Yeah,
for real.
That's crazy, but I'm very, very glad that you have been able to do it. And it's really amazing. And I also believe that resources are definitely important when you're working with a team for more than 5 people, maybe.
Yeah, we use some tools like Asana, the Outlook calendar. It has been really useful for our team organizations, at least.
Yes, you're right. Because if not, all the tasks will be all over the place, and we wouldn't even know what to do next. So.
And what has been already done.
Yes, so it's definitely good to have resources to help you keep track of what you're doing.
Yeah.
Good recommendation.
So, next question. Why did you decide to create podcasts with Igem Patras?
We believe creating podcasts is one of the optimal ways to raise public awareness and engage people in the synbio world, especially young people who might think of joining this exciting scientific field. At the same time, we believe that it's a way of reaching out to people worldwide in different time zones and locations without needing to be nearby, which is such a great advantage, of course.
It's very true. I believe that podcasts are a great way of communicating science and in both of cases can help people get an insight about Igem and synthetic biology in general. So you can know what to expect if you're gonna enter Igem or just the field as it is.
Yeah. Or even if you're like just a nerd interested in this.
Yes, exactly. You can just listen it and it's cool.
Yeah. So let's hear more about their podcast. What was their favorite episode
To record.
Our favorite episode has probably been the Marie Curie episode. The life and work of this prominent scientist is always fascinating and always worth talking about. While from my perspective as a woman, I would like to see it led to other women in STEM who have either been our predecessors or are to this day improving and working on the scientific field.
Yeah, I also think that Marie Curie's story is very interesting. And it's very important to keep recognizing young women and women in general that are doing their job on science, because sometimes, well, most of the times we're not recognized as we should.
We need role models to understand what we're doing in this field.
Yes.
So it's very important.
Yes, it's very encouraging, and I understand why that's their favorite episode.
Yeah.
But now, almost last, let's hear why should you listen to their podcast with Igem Patras.
Our podcasts are a great way to learn about the enchanting world of synthetic biology and the Igem competition. Furthermore, we engage with a great variety of topics and themes, so our podcasts are more than a single synbio conversation. We have recorded podcasts, for instance, about Marie Curie, different teams projects, and so many more matters. So our listeners will always have interesting and entertaining content to listen to, and at the same time are provided with time enlightening information.
Great. So now you know, if you want to listen more of the Igem Patras podcast or these topics, don't doubt giving it a listen. You won't regret it. It's a great podcast.
And now, with our last question, let's see. How can people reach out to Team Igem Patras if they're interested in the project? Let's hear Despina.
If you're interested in our project, you can contact us via email at igem@upatras.gr or via text message at igem.patras on Instagram, igem.patras on Facebook, and Igem Patras on LinkedIn. We will be more than happy to answer any possible questions or hear your suggestions and ideas about our project and our effort.
Well, thanks, Despina and the rest of the Igem Patras team. For sharing this with us, and we hope you find it interesting as well, and that you have learned a little bit more about the Igem world, the Igem community, and like us to stay in communication between us.
Exactly. But before we go, we would also like to introduce another Igem team who is actually planning to make a podcast. This team is Team Igem Rec Chennai. They are a team from India. However, their podcast, that will be called The Cadmium Boss, is gonna be in English. This team is developing a project based on cadmium precipitation from the water effluents, since this compound can do a lot of environmental harms. In their podcast, they will be talking about general problems that occur in the environment, including cadmium's toxicity and its adverse effects towards nature, which leads to human problems. So, if you want to learn more about cadmium conservation and some foundational advances, you can't miss out the Cadmium Boss, which you will be able to find on Spotify.
And we'd like to thank you for staying us on this episode of Sin Sentido, and we hope that you liked knowing about Igem Patras and Rec Chennai as much as we did. And don't forget to follow us.
You can also follow yourself from another account, but follow us first.
Don't forget to follow our social media, Igem Patras, and to know more about our project or the competition. And this is a very cool content comment.
Yes.
So
we'll see you.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.